Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what the hell happened, because the last video I posted was literally titled I'm back, and it's now been three months, maybe 4, since I posted. Well, long story short, Helga, my beloved Suzuki Intruder, shortly after I posted that video, the engine has kind of failed, which is gutting, and it's taken quite a while for me to accept that there's a chance that Helga might not ride again, at least for not some time. The rear end of the bike's got to come off, the shaft drive's got to come off, the engine's got to come out, and I've got to get to the bottom end of the engine, to the big part of the engine. Went out for a ride with a good friend. We went to a place about an hour away from us called West Bay, which is somewhat of, you know, a motorcycle hotspot here in the southwest. It was a fantastic journey there. Let's check my fuel. Yeah, we're good. And cup of tea, coffee, box of chips and all that sort of stuff, and just shoot the breeze a little bit with my mate. And we're heading back, and we're about half an hour into the ride home, and I can feel this ticking in my feet, like someone was hitting the underside of my shoe with the back edge of a spoon. It was that sort of, it was really strange. I kept looking down. I was like, oh, maybe something's on the underside of the bike, and it's, you know, it's flicking up and hitting the underside of my foot, or my foot plate at least. But no. Next thing I know, pop, bang, 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 and Helga comes to an abrupt halt with absolutely no power. Battery's blown. Have to call another good friend. I'm so lucky to have these people around me. Well, we call recovery. They don't show up for hours, and then when they do show up, they send some snotty-nosed 19-year-old kid who hasn't got a Scooby. And anyway, so they send this guy out. They don't send a trailer, so I call another good friend of mine who lives not too far from where I broke down, and she jumps in our van and she comes to the rescue and picks me and Helga up in the van and drops us home like a true hero. So I start investigating once Helga's back on the bench, and one of the first things I do is drop the oil. Drop the oil because I've got a suspicion that the stator and regulator might be at play here, and I want to check them out. Drop the oil, and I find chunks. I'm not talking flakes, I'm talking chunks of metal in the sump. Some things have snapped, disintegrated, broken, and have been rattling around in the sump, in the bottom end of the engine. And that tapping noise that I was feeling, I believe a piece of this metal, one of the chunks, got into the stator case area and was rotating around with the generator, and then what happened is it just kept going, spinning around, knock, and then it lodged itself between the copper wires of the stator and the stator cover, therefore grounding the stator, which would of course blow up the regulator and obviously blow up the battery as well. So that's my best guess on what happened. And then I took the stator case off, and my god, you can see the scratch marks on the stator case, on the inside of the stator case, where this piece of what I could only describe as, you know, aggregate, you know, it's like a stone sized piece of metal just bouncing around inside the stator case. And for a while, you know, a couple of friends came over and took a look with me, and we sort of tried to really rule out any potential, and anything that maybe I was blowing it out of proportion, you know, because I do that. I panic a lot, and especially when it comes to my bikes, I seem to have quite a lot of bad luck with my bikes. And then actually that night after they left, I put a magnet next to it, and it's magnetic. which is really not good, because that means that it's not engine casing in any way, because the engine casings, at least as far as I'm aware, on the Intruder are some sort of aluminium composite. They're not magnetic, and the only parts of the engine that are magnetic will be that of, you know, the actual bottom end of the engine. I think what's happened is the bike took a little bit of a fall a couple of weeks before I posted that video. It didn't go over, but it was wet. We're on a very steep, slippery hill. It was the first rain that we'd had all summer, and in the UK we had the driest summer on record, so the roads hadn't been washed by that of the elements for months. And I think all of the oil that had been slowly gathering on the roads from cars and vehicles and whatnot, when it then got wet for the first time in months, it just became like an ice rink. And that's effectively what happened, is very slowly down a hill, really steep hill, turning left, and there was a reverse camber, and although I was in first or second gear going about 5 miles an hour, if that, the bike just carried on going straight rather than going left the way I wanted it to go, and she hit her footboards. She stayed upright, but she landed on her footboards and threw me off. I ended up in the dirt, but the bike was still running, which is really strange because it was in gear. So I think what's happened is that fall and me letting go of the clutch at just the wrong time, or the right time, however you, depending on how you want to look at it, I think that it forced itself into neutral by ways of snapping one of the gear shift forks. I think that's what they're called, the forks that, sorry about the noise there, the forks that hold the transmission in place, that, you know, when you move your gear lever, your foot lever, it moves these forks back and forth, and that's what changes your gears. So I think that's what's actually snapped. But in order to test that, in order to find out if that's the case, I need to tear down the entire engine further than I have done yet, down to the bottom end, and then rebuild. So that's why Helga is not between my legs right now, and that is also why I'm riding this. If you don't know what this is a 2016 Yamaha XJR 1300. It's not the sport model, it's the standard model. Why did I buy it? Because, my fellow Vikings, I needed some reliability in my life when it came to my motorcycles. It's that simple of an answer. When you want to ride and do nothing but ride, and all that happens is you break down on something that you spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours and pounds and dollars on, and it just keeps going wrong, it's a bit of a combination for disaster, you know. You start to question your own abilities, and so I was like, right, you know what, I need to start looking for a really strong, modern, Japanese or German motorcycle that I can just throw my leg over, hit the button and go, and not have all of the worry that I have with the Intruders, because I love them dearly and they will both run again, they will. But right now it got to that point where I needed to ride, so that's why I bought the XJR. Oh, I hate this roundabout. So don't worry, those of you that are here because of the Intruders, I'm not changing the channel to the point where the Intruders are no longer part of it. I'm still so invested in both of those motorcycles, but for the time being you'll probably see me majority of the time, at least through the winter now, on this motorcycle. So there you are, guys, that's kind of like a little catch up for you, and this is sort of a mic and camera test, and I'm hoping that this has done the trick. It would be nice if it has, because I've been trying for months, if not years now, to try and get it right for you guys and for me. I'm such a fussy git when it comes to audio quality. Video quality, don't mind if it's a little bit shoddy, but if the audio is crap, I'm switching off, because I can't deal with rough audio. So I'm really hoping that this, what I've just recorded for the last half an hour, is coming out okay.